We are live. Good to see you today, my EOS podcast friends. The first podcast in EOS history. Also teamed up with the EOS Writer, putting out some really quality media. I'm sure you've seen the EOS Writer all over the place as a very go-to media source for quality information. Today we have Uncloak. We have Teo from Uncloak. They're taking on cyberhackers with blockchain and an AI-powered solution. So this is a really cool project to check out. We're going to talk all about it. Welcome to the show, Teo. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Just really appreciate Brandon to spend his time with yourself and with your fellow podcasters that are out there. So my name's Dada. I run a company called Uncloak. Uncloak is a software solution built on EOS blockchain, which is designed to help companies have the ability to find out where their cybersecurity weaknesses are and be able to resolve those weaknesses through a blockchain-based channel partnership model, which I can go into later on, and also have the ability to find out in the future where the latest cyber threats are coming from. And as we know, may or may not know, cybersecurity and hacking is the world's largest infrastructure problem. And so we really effectively want to use Uncloak to be able to curtail and reduce the amount of cyber hacking that's happening to organizations on a daily basis out there.
You said that hacking is the world's number one infrastructure problem. What's that? Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, that what's changed right now is that, we live in a world where everything's so ubiquitous. So there's so much hyper-connectivity that we have, your laptops, your desktops, your mobile phones, everything is connected to the internet. If you ask someone, what is the most popular operating system in the world, some people may say Apple or Windows. It's actually Android. And it just goes to show you that, we're so connected in ways to the internet. And with this form of connection, it's allowing hackers that can work anonymously without you having a clue from what country or what region they're coming from, the ability to try and get access to computers, in the comfort and safety of their own home or web cafe. So, when we say that, hacking is the world's largest infrastructure problem, if we realize that since 2017 to 2019, hacking has increased by over 400%. So on a daily basis, for example, there's over 1 million different new threats that are coming out. For every white hat, in terms of an ethical hacker or someone who's getting paid by a company to look for cybersecurity weaknesses, there are at least 10 black hats, unethical hackers that are out there trying to break into your network. And every single day we're hearing about a new hack that's been revealed. And, there's so much different compliance requirements that are starting to come through, which are making companies expose themselves now and say, yes, we've been breached, or there's a breach that has happened to us. And for example, in the UK, there was a huge hack that happened to 54% of all hospitals in the UK, which is called a WannaCry hack. And so anyone who had a Windows XP machine, that machine had got hacked and the information had got damaged, and it couldn't be recovered without paying a sufficient amount of funds. And these are the type of hacks that we're hearing about every day. You hear about British Airways that got hacked on a website. You hear about some of the largest publishing companies in the world that are getting hacked, and this is also all coming to light now. So it's a really interesting time to be living in, where people are realizing the power of a computer, and hackers' motive is two things. One is either prevent access to information, or two, gain access to information. And so cybersecurity right now, especially the shortage of cybersecurity experts are out there. Cisco estimate there's over 1 million engineers, shortage of engineers in the world that are required by businesses right now. So we're living in a situation right now where there's a huge skills gap. And we really want to address that by using our software to really help companies to protect themselves.
Yeah, it makes me think of when people talk about the Wild West, it actually reminds you of the Wild West, because it is like there's one sheriff and he is, 2 towns over or something hanging, and there's just not enough enforcement to go around to stop people that are doing bad things. So that is a little bit daunting to think about how to tackle something like that. I mean, that's what you guys are doing. That's pretty wild. So what's the solution aside from getting as many white hat hackers as there is black hat hackers? What's the
Yeah,
solution for something like this?
yeah, and exactly. So I think one of the things that we have to do is try and find ways in which we can automate. And I think some of the best businesses that are in the world have a way of aggregating resources. So whether it's people or computing power to solve and fix problems. And so by having a solution such as Uncloak, what we actually do is that not only do we have a piece of software that companies can download and it allows them to find the cybersecurity weaknesses in their business, they have the ability to press a button in the software which will allow them to contact a vetted party off the blockchain that will be able to help them resolve the issue themselves. So this then allows you to have almost a gigging economy where you have businesses and freelancers that are experts in what they do when it comes to cybersecurity to be able to jump on your machine and resolve and fix it, and they've already been vetted. And that's just actually one part of our solution. With another part of the solution, the way that really cybersecurity can be handled is by trying to use the wider network of hackers that are out there. Now, one of the things that we want to do is not only work with white hats, but also work with black hats. So, the fact that if we can legitimize, hackers that are out there, that rather than doing something illicit, they can actually work on a platform such as ours and get paid, legitimately for finding new issues and still remain anonymous. And this is the power of using the blockchain itself. We don't expose any client data to those hackers because obviously they might try and break into the system. But what we do is say, look, if you know about a new threat or cyber threat that no one else knows about, why don't you get paid for it? And by using the blockchain, there's some clever things that we can do where we can use a consensus-based model. And what this basically means is that if I'm a hacker and I'm working on Uncloak and I find a threat, before I get paid for that threat, my threat has to be voted by at least three other people that are also anonymous on the system. So you have someone who finds a threat, but before they get paid, it has to be checked. Their work has to be checked by three other people. It's almost like mining. So the work has to be validated before it can actually, that person can get paid out. And this is really revolutionary compared to requiring like moderators to be checking other people's works, which you find in other organizations that are doing any form of bug bounty. And this is completely unique, not only in a blockchain, but in traditional businesses itself. And then, lastly, we also have, we've been working with an AI company on producing a piece of software that's able to go out into the public internet. So for your Googles, your Twitters, your Facebooks, social media websites, and not only that, look into the dark web, which is obviously where, it's a very hidden part of the internet, which allows our piece of software to be able to look for chatter in those environments. For my background, for example, I'm security cleared, and that basically means I can work with the British government and public authorities due to being vetted myself. Now, I'm aware that there's surveillance systems that we in the British government can be using to look at chatter, but this allows a commercial application to be able to look for particular keywords that are being used by hackers to be able to say, okay, right, what is the next threat that is coming down the line? And if we can notify and tell our community and our clients about the latest issues that are coming, they can always remain one step ahead of the hacker. And that's what we consider to be pretty revolutionary in the market today.
Yeah, that does sound so a little bit of preemptive fixing of the bugs as opposed to reactive. It sounds like with the AI looking at chatter.
Absolutely. I mean, you got it right there. And so we're looking at not just finding vulnerabilities which exist today in your systems, like, for example, poor passwords, your website's not up to date, and if your antivirus isn't configured, because we're not an antivirus company, we sit above your antivirus. But we will check that your antivirus applications are in check, your software is being patched, your Windows passwords, your Linux passwords are secure and are complex and are strong. We will do a whole variety of checks using our agent. So we're looking at present day issues, but also by using the AI, we're able to look at future threats. And by combining those two things together, it really allows that client to reduce the amount of risk that they're exposed to when it comes to trading or just operating on the internet. Because, the statistics state that, if your company is hacked, within the first 3 years, the company's more likely to fall apart, after 3 years, go out of business after it's been hacked.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at some of the companies that have been hacked, if you look at their share price, how greatly they've dropped because companies unfortunately sometimes don't spend enough on not just cybersecurity but on IT altogether. And one of the things that we want to do is make sure that our software is accessible for all. It's not just for the large conglomerates, multinational businesses, but also for the small guy, the ones and twos, the 20 man band. That's the type of companies that we're also going after as well. So just as you install antivirus, you can also install Uncloak, which will be your virtual cybersecurity agent.
What's a spend like for let's say a $10 million company or so? What's a spend like on cybersecurity? What are companies actually spending? What should they be spending? How does Uncloak does the solution change that?
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, just give an example. So if you picture take $10 million company, or let's say $10 million company, £7.5 million business, would typically, well, first thing, they would not generally have a cybersecurity expert. Then starting to hire what's known as CISOs, which are cybersecurity information officers in businesses. But traditionally, you would find that they will have a set of IT engineers, but not necessarily a dedicated cybersecurity expert in that business, even in a large firm like that. They'll generally contract someone on an annual basis to come in and do a spot check. Unfortunately, you have things like zero-day vulnerabilities. So, for example, there are new threats that are coming out every single day. So one thing that we found, and I've been running an IT, cybersecurity business in the UK since 2001. One thing that we found every time we went into a client site to do a piece of work, and these are companies that are $10 million inside, $100 million in size. As soon as we produced a report, we got paid, which is great. But at the end of the time we got paid, a few days later, a new vulnerability may rise to the surface. And so you're in a situation when you're paying this cat and mouse game of trying to keep up for the client, and the client says, I can't really be paying you every single week for a new vulnerability. So one thing that we find with our software, it's a subscription-based model. So you pay on a monthly basis, and it's no way as expensive as what you might be paying for an application such as Salesforce or even Office 365. So, we pitch our price at sub $10 for per seat, for you to actually have that ability to cater for it. A typical cybersecurity engineer could be costing you upwards of $70,000 basic, and that's without, sickness pay or any additional benefits. And so by using our service, the return on investment, you'll start to realize that within the first month of you not using our service, which is constantly checking your system 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is constantly keeping its eye out, compared to you having an engineer that's working 5 days a week and can't obviously look after every single computer on a network and be proactive at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's a huge gap there between what a normal company has funds to even spend on cybersecurity and the amount that's needed to spend. I mean, it sounds like they could be hiring someone, one or two people at $100,000 or more,
Yeah.
and but they can't necessarily afford that.
That's it. And then one of the things that when it came to pricing, and one of my chaps, his name's Nicholas Banks. He basically done the IPO for one of the largest cybersecurity companies in Europe. And no, he's been brilliant in terms of route to market, in terms of how we get into clients and what our value proposition is. And one thing that we found out is that if we can produce a piece of software, because even it's only now I would say in the last 3 years where people starting to take cybersecurity very seriously. And one of the reasons why we have this is, for example, in Europe alone, you have things like GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, which basically means that if your company experiences a breach, and a breach isn't just someone breaking into your network, it means if your data is lost, if your data is stolen, if your data is manipulated or corrupted, your company could be liable for 4% of its annual turnover, or 20 million euros, whichever is a greater.
Wow.
So that basically means that, just by having a breach, your company could potentially go under because you could get such a huge fine. And it's not even only the fine is the smallest part of it. You have the slow burn of you losing your PR and the way that your people lose confidence in your business, you've been hacked. So one thing that we've tried to do with Uncloak is make sure we can almost make it like an insurance policy, where it's not that expensive, where you have to think, oh gosh, I have to lose a limb to buy this service, but it's something to say, okay, look, this is a service that I can buy that isn't going to cost me, to the hills to try and use a service, because we want to make this super attractive, because over 76% of businesses are small to medium-sized enterprises. That's 1 to 250 members of staff. We're not tackling the 500, FTSE 500 companies. We're going after the majority of companies that are saying, okay, look, we've got a couple of $100 a month which we can spend on IT solutions. What do you have for us? And this is where Uncloak fits into that gap very, very nicely.
Yeah, that huge centerpiece where it's the most neglected. I just thought with that GDPR, that makes some kind of perverse incentives, especially in that middle range where there's maybe some real hot competition going on between companies, and you could almost spend a little on your own cybersecurity, and then some companies might spend some on a black hat to go take out one of their competitors with one of those giant fines.
Well, I know it's so funny you say that. The bottom line is, it's like when you've Google AdWords. Every time you click on if someone's got a really expensive Google AdWord and it costs like $3 for every click, you could just get someone who can say, okay, look, I'm gonna get 1,000 different computers to be clicking that link, and before you know it, you've run up $3,000 of Google AdWords. So it's fun that you say that. I think that corporate espionage definitely is on the rise now, and you will find organizations that will be actively seeking to take another company out, in order for that they can get a huge fine behind them. The fines are only starting to creep through now. I mean, it's only now that you're starting to hear about fines starting to come through. Quite recently, one of the largest fines that had happened was with an organization that was literally sharing some medical data records without explicit consent from the patients themselves. So you are starting to see that we're starting to live in a very much a litigation type of environment right now. But like I said, litigation is one of the smaller things. The biggest issue is that once business is all about data. It's all about intellectual property. Once you lose that intellectual property, or that intellectual property gets compromised, it's an absolute nightmare. You look at hacks that have happened in the past. LinkedIn, when it got hacked in 2012, 126 million records were stolen. Email records were stolen. And so when you're starting to see emails that are coming through saying, I've got your password, and they reveal an old password from LinkedIn, and they say, I want Bitcoin for it because I've been seeing what you've been up to at home. You're like, oh my gosh, I need to pay this person. It's because LinkedIn got hacked in 2012, and people are using the same passwords on LinkedIn as they use on Adobe Cloud and what have you. So we're living in a really strange time right now, with hacking increasing exponentially every single year.
Wow. Yeah, it's just amazing to think of this whole dark economy that's out there. Why do you think why is there so many more black hats than white hat hackers?
I think, for me, I say it is that the anonymity that you have. The bottom line is that everyone can, it's very easy to get connected to the internet. Your mobile phone can have 3G, 2.5G, 4G network. You don't even have to be in a web cafe anymore. And so it just makes it super attractive that you can jump onto someone's machine or attempt to break in without any form of repercussion at all. And so I really do believe that the more that we get connected, the more hacks that we're starting to see. And also the fact that we have things, unfortunately, on the perverse or dark side of cryptocurrency, is that, now it's very hard to trace money, and, if we're starting to use things like Bitcoin, in which we can actually use Bitcoin to get paid for, you can continue to remain anonymous, get paid for hacks. And so it's an idle environment for an opportunistic hackers to take advantage of it, really, in the day. And the bottom line is that, like I said, people thrive, hackers thrive on another company's ignorance or pride. And so, most companies will say, yes, we're protected, we've got antivirus, we're good, we don't need to worry about anything else, or we've got a set of IT engineers. There's a lot of pride that's out there, and the majority of businesses are in that position where they believe that they're completely fine until they actually end up getting burnt. And this is such a common scenario at the moment. So we are living in a strange time where hackers have this anonymity. They can remain anonymous, break into systems all over the world without you even knowing about it, and using hacks which are 5 or 10 years old, but still work because companies think that they are impervious to hacks themselves.
Yeah, I guess there's the risk reward. It's like there's not that much risk of being a hacker, and the reward can be giant. And also, like you said there, I mean, the ability just to leverage your hacking and send it out to 2 million email addresses and just have kind of these things trickle in of just people who make mistakes. I mean, there's a lot of leverage there to pull in too. So yeah, people, it seems like it's ripe to be taken advantage of.
No, no, it's very true. I mean, I like the point you said that, but I mean, you've got hackers and you've got script kiddies. You know, a hacker is someone who's a bit more dedicated, knows what they're doing, and literally is pretty persistent. But then you have a script kiddie, which is someone who, it could be anyone, like it could be me or you, that could jump onto a strange website, pull a file down, and say, you know what, I'm going to send this to a whole bunch of email addresses. And they're the more dangerous ones than the typical hackers that you find are out there that are literally trying to take down businesses and steal money and all types of things. So it's a really strange time that we're living in, where there's so many different hacks are readily available on the internet, and people, if they spend a few minutes or a couple of hours, even a few days, they can actually use to their advantage. So it is a really strange time that we're living in right now.
Yeah, that is a wild thought that someone can walk in who knows very little about computers, do a little bit of research, just like you can research how to build a car on YouTube. You can research you can research how to run a dark web scam or some kind of script kiddie scam, as you said. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow, what a wild thought. So is there a gig economy for white hat hackers now, and like how developed is it?
Yeah, so some of the largest organizations like Bugcrowd and HackerOne, they've been coming into news a lot and into the fore for having opportunities whereby hackers have been shown to be making $100,000, $200,000 a year for finding vulnerabilities in software. I mean, what you find at the moment is that typically you'll have a large organization like HackerOne or Bugcrowd that will allow people to sign up to the platform and gain access to trying to break into a piece of software that has been released by Google, for example. So Google Chrome, before they want to release a piece of software into the rest of the world, they will use a network like Bugcrowd or HackerOne, and they will pay a bounty like $10,000, $50,000, depending on who's able to find a larger vulnerability. So what you're starting to find out is that everything that we're doing right now in the world is really moving to this whole idea of this gig economy. You'll find it in Uber, Airbnb. Everyone is becoming their own type of business person. And it's a really interesting time as well, because one thing I always say about cloud or gig economy is that the customer becomes the customer service. So, and it's such a strange thing where everyone's their own little business person. And I think with having like the white hats that have the ability not having to be vetted on our platform. In other words, we don't really care where you come from. You can continue to remain anonymous and continue to work in your primary job, but you can make some extra money by working on our platform, rather than having to go through the whole vetting and know your customer. It's a nightmare. So this really allows, and even non-white hat hackers, this is what's really interesting, because there's a huge number of people that are currently unbanked in the world. So some of the best hackers that I personally know don't necessarily have a bank account, and so this allows them to jump onto a platform without having to set up a bank account and get paid in fiat. They can actually get really involved. And these guys would wipe the floor on some of the strongest experienced hackers that are out there working for organizations. And so this is a really great opportunity to use the power of the blockchain to allow people that are banked and unbanked to use the platform to get paid in tokens, which they could convert back into fiat if they so wish, and literally be solving issues for loads of businesses at the same time. So it's really, really, really interesting stuff.
Yeah, that banked and unbanked point is something that's probably one of the contributing factors of the fact that there's more black hat than white hat hackers, is that a lot of people are unbanked and they don't necessarily have the ability to go get a job as a white hat hacker. So that's kind of what's open to some people. So that'd be an interesting shift as well. So where are you guys at right now with your beta, and you've had some recent launches, I think, right?
Yeah, no. So where we are at the moment, so we're in July/August. We are launching our Uncloak engine, which is one part of the four-piece puzzle that we have. So the first piece is that a user will be able to go to our website, click on the button, and download an application that will be able to run on their Mac or PC. It's built in Electron code, so it's able to run on it's cross-platforms. It can run PC, Mac, or even potentially a Linux if we need to. But it allows them to then scan their whole network looking for vulnerabilities across their machines, printers, desktops, laptops, servers, workstations, you name it, within their network, and give them a report of exactly where the issues are and what to fix. So that's coming out in July and August, and we're really July/August, really excited about that. And we're currently working with a big four consultancy that have expressed a huge amount of interest in that component, which is we're really excited about. And unfortunately, we're under NDA, so we can't reveal it yet. But that will definitely should be coming up in terms of us talking about it around July, August, where we can hope to make some real serious noise. And I think it will be great for the blockchain community as well when they realize the size of the organization that we're working with and that is backing us on the agent itself. We're currently in an IEO at the moment. We're currently doing an IEO, initial exchange offering, to raise funds for the platform. We've been bootstrapping the whole project to date. So, we haven't been using external funds to build our project. We've been bootstrapping the project to date. So, we want to be in a position where we can really seriously accelerate not just the development, but the ability that we can create a huge amount of network reach where we can get out there and make a lot of noise about what we're doing and get as many companies on board using our software and solution and resolving issues for themselves. So yeah, it's a really interesting time right now. We're super excited and stoked to be working through that first part of the agent, which is the most visible part of the software. With the AI part, as mentioned, that we'll look for threats that are coming down the line on the dark web and public internet. That will definitely take place later. The bug bounty will definitely look at around January, probably for the bug bounty launch. We already have a great relationship with Adecco, which we've been doing a lot of work with in the UK from a cybersecurity standpoint through a previous business of mine, who have been really, really helpful. So they're the world's largest human resource company. They've got over 500,000 members of staff, and they've got over 50,000 testers on their books already. So software testers, cybersecurity engineers. So we've got a ready-made market when it comes to the bug bounty, which we definitely want to push out to them and really get them involved and incentivize, rather than having to do tons of hackathons around the world trying to find engineers, which is really messy. So we've really got a real fast track there. So no, yeah, we're really excited right now. So we can't wait to launch the software. The developers in my team have been working really, really hard on getting that sorted out. So we just can't wait. So July/August is going to be a really exciting time for us.
Well, in the IEO, the initial exchange offering, it's during the ICO craze and everything. There was so many projects that were, just getting money and then building. It's important to see these projects that have kind of lasted through this long struggle and that have put their own money into developing projects. I love to see that. I mean, so kudos to you guys for putting your own money into this project and then getting it to a point where you have a product with the Uncloak agent that's actually going to bring in revenue. So, those are big things for people to consider, and that I always love to see. So, kudos on that. On your initial exchange offering, what exchange are you guys with?
We're with P2B B2B. They're European-based exchange. I must also quote that we ourselves are SEC exempt as well. We registered with the SEC, so SEC know about our project and who we are, which is great. So more than happy to take on US investors, Canadian investors onto the project itself, which is great stuff. But yeah, no, we're working with P2B B2B. They're one of the fastest growing crypto exchanges in Europe, and the top 25 exchange at the moment. So really excited to be working with them as one of their first IELs on their platform as well. And then we'll be listing towards the main public listing will be towards the end of June. where we'll be listed on their platform. And there's actually some new news that will be coming through hopefully soon, which will be pretty exciting, which I'll be able to feedback to you, which will be working with one of the top 2 exchanges in the world. So that's going to be, that should be pretty exciting as well.
Right, killer. Can you talk a little bit more about, let's talk about the 4 kind of stages. You've got the Uncloak agent, which is basically an agent that goes in and scans your entire network. So through one computer, it can scan everything from your computers to your cell phones to your printers, and then
Correct.
gives you a one-time report on that, or is that one that kind of will continually be scanning?
Yeah, so you can set it to schedule. So it'll be scheduled jobs where you continue scheduling your network, once a week, twice a week, and what have you, and just always telling you where your issues are and how to resolve and fix them. Okay. So we work with the world's largest database of cybersecurity vulnerabilities as well, which will tell us, which is used by some of the top applications that are currently out there, outside of the blockchain. So we can always keep abreast of what issues are coming up and be able to help clients be able to resolve them. So that's part 1. Part 2 would be the channel partnership model, where we start to use EOS to really allow companies to sign up, individuals to sign up that are experts, that are vetted on the platform, to be able to fix issues on behalf of our clients. So a client, if they can't fix the issue themselves, and most of the times they won't be able to fix it because it's pretty technical, they can actually press a button and have a vetted partner, channel partner, like, recognized IT company that can jump on and resolve the issues, and they can get paid for it. And by using a blockchain, we're able to create an escrow model where if a client has an issue, they press a button, some of their funds are held on the blockchain. The channel partner then is able to fix the issue. Our system would rescan that customer's platform to see if the issue actually has been fixed by the channel partner before we sign it off. Once it's signed off, the funds are then released out of the blockchain through a smart contract mechanism back to the channel partner, and the client's happy. And this really just reduces the amount of risk, a huge amount of risk, and it takes out any form of moderation. That means we don't have to have tons of moderators, administrators keeping eyes on customers, and this helps us reduce costs, which we can then pass savings on to our customers. So the vulnerability agent, part 1. Part 2, the channel partnership model, which then kicks in. Part 3, the bug bounty environment, which will allow the white hat hackers / black hat hackers, banked and unbanked, to get the ability to tell us about the latest threats that they know about and get paid for it. And in part 4, we have the AI engine, which is able to go into public internet and dark web and tell us exactly what the latest threats are, which we can then pass back to our clients and allow companies to keep abreast of what's happening in the world when it comes to cybersecurity landscape.
All right. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's definitely things in here that haven't been done before and are revolutionary for this huge, I think you said 70-something% of mid-range companies. What was that percentage?
Yeah, 76% companies that are literally between the size of 1 to 250 members of staff.
Okay, so that's where, yeah.
Absolutely. It's a great sweet spot. I mean, one thing that we do want to do is just make sure that, we want to make sure that our software is super accessible. And, it's about simplicity is a key. I always say the best, too much information is no information. And so what we want to do is make sure that the customer sees what they need to see at the right time. They don't need to know about all the bells and whistles and blockchain and everything else that's running underneath the hood. We just want to make them that they can see an amazing set of screens, tell them exactly what they need to fix and how to fix it really, really quickly, without them knowing about all the technicalities of what's under the hood. So yeah, we're really trying to debunk the whole area around cybersecurity as well, not just by creating a solution, but by being able to deliver something so simple that anyone can sign up to it who has a business and has access to a computer and internet.
Yeah, I think bringing that cost down to somewhere reasonable is huge, because there's that big percentage of people who just can't, the companies that can't afford it. It's not in their budget. So that'll be interesting. And you guys were working with EOS 42 for a little bit as well. They were helping with some of your things.
Yeah, we still are. So they're great guys. David Packham and Ryan Betham, and the team of developers, Philip, Hamnet, and Michael. These guys are super strong. Some of the strongest guys that have literally written a lot of the underlying code in EOS as well. So by working with these guys, or at least contributing to EOS code base, working with these guys has been absolutely brilliant. Where they're going to be really helping us to push the bug bounty side of things out. They've obviously been very, very busy working on their Chintai platform, for staking and reducing the cost of CPU and memory software when you're obviously as a DApp on their platform. They've got obviously their whole CPU rental platform, which they've got there. So they've been really, really helpful. They really understand the whole, they understand EOS better than a lot of other organizations that we've ever spoken to. Super strong developers. So we're super excited to be working with them and just having their thumbs up from them, that they looked at our project and said, what they realized, that we've got something which they believe is groundbreaking as well. So we're really happy to have that, affirmation from them and kudos, as they say. So yeah, cool stuff.
Well, let's get EOS 42 back in the top 21. Anyone who's listening to this,
absolutely
vote for EOS 42. If you are using proxies, I have the Mr. Happy Money proxy, and I vote for EOS 42. So yeah, show your support there, and then that'll in turn be showing some support to Uncloak. I had a question about the AI, and you mentioned that you had clearance with the government, and so that how the government can monitor chatter. What's that ecosystem look like? How can chatter be monitored? And I don't know much about that.
Well, it's a combination of AI and machine learning. So really, it's looking for patterns and particularly, the technical term is social word disambiguation, which basically means it looks for particular words and characters of words and how words are put together. And from there, it's able to deduce that something is interesting or not interesting. So, for example, we would feed in, say, we've got 576 words that a hacker would use, porn or trap or picnic. There's certain words that a hacker would use that we feed into the platform and system, and then it will go out looking for semantics around that word. So, for example, it will say, okay, right, rather than just use the word hack, it will use the words freak around it or rad. You always have a particular set of words that you'll use around what a hacker would use. So it's almost like a thesaurus. So it'll create this thesaurus using AI to say, okay, right, these are all different types of combinations of words that are currently being used out there. Now go across a set of dark websites and public internet sites looking for those keywords. And once you see those keywords, let's then run it through an engine which was able to then to say, okay, right, to do what's known as ontology, which is ability to categorize the different words that are coming through and say, this is interested, this is deemed as not being interested. And so by using AI, it's able to work out, very, very easy. You're always going to have issues on it. It's not, no system is 100% not going to have false positives in it. But, we are able to get down to, to a really good level of accuracy about, okay, there's someone who's talking about something which seems to be to do with a cyber threat that people may not know about. Or if the same words mentioned in different channels, hacking channels, we sit there as like an avatar where we sit on a hacking channel, like a social media forum, pretending to be a hacker ourselves, listening to the chat that's coming up and down the line. And that's basically what we do. So we have a whole set of avatars on a whole bunch of different channels, behaving to be like real human beings, where we're actually listening to the chatter that's coming down the line. And that's how, that's how a lot of organizations would do it anyway, in regards to.
Interesting. So, and then, so if something's interesting, then what comes through? Like a sentence will come through, or a paragraph will come through, and then there's a human on the other end who reads it and says, "Oh, this is, we should look into this further." Or how's that part work?
Yeah, no. So what will happen is, really, at the end of the day, we will have a database of URLs and links that we consider to have a particular keyword which is important to us. And then from by there, we will then obviously say, okay, right, where we heard this keyword on other websites. So rather than us being in a situation where we have to physically check every single line of data, that would be an absolute nightmare. What we will be doing is saying, okay, if we see that someone's talking about Windows 7, for example, Windows 7 Service Pack 2, and talking about a particular machine or particular piece of software, we will then be able to tell our clients, hold on, we know that you've got this software in your environment because we've scanned your network. Funny enough, there's 1,000 different people that are out in the dark web talking about a hack for this exact same piece of software that you happen to have in your network. We like to tell you about it, and we want to make sure that you know about it first. And so that's the type of information that we're passing through. So what we are doing for the client is giving them the ability to say, funny enough, we know you've got all these machines in your network. You've got Apple Macs running Darwin. You've got Windows 7 machines, Windows XP. You've got Windows 2012. You've got Linux, Solaris. There's people talking about in the hacking communities about all the hacks that are for these machines. And we believe with a high level of probability that they have something, they're onto something which could be a detrimental to your machine. And that's really how a lot of the AI platforms and machine learning platforms work. So it's all about pattern recognition, and AI is about not just pattern recognition, which machine learning is really about, but AI allows you to say, okay, right, what's the next patterns that could potentially emerge to keep you one step ahead.
Interesting. Cool. And you mentioned picnic is a hacker word. Is picnic some sort of code for hackers? Like, is this going to be easy or what?
So if you got words like honeypot, so honeypot's like a common word, picnic. Honeypot is used for, like, for example, if you're trying to, what a lot of companies tend to do is they may set up a system called a honeypot, which is a system that allows hackers to deter them to try and break into that particular system to knock it out. So companies are, hackers are like, okay, right, oh, this is a honeypot. And then we can say, okay, right, there's hackers talking about a particular environment because they're talking about honeypots. So we know hackers are in that environment talking about it, or DMZ network or firewall, There's certain words that we will start to be picking up and realizing, okay, there's hackers that are talking in this area. We need to listen a bit more closely. But yeah, picnic is one of the particular words that we use from time to time, really, at the end of the day.
Okay, fun. Nice. Cool. Well, what's the next thing coming up for Uncloak, and where can people find you guys?
Yeah, so I mean, after we finish our IEO and then list around the 25th of June on P2B-B2B.io, the aim for us has really been a situation where July/August we get our agent out there, which is a commercially viable and available agent for businesses, which they can download and install. So we'll be working with a company called Push Group, which is Europe's most highly awarded Google AdWords provider. So there'll be a lot of ads going out into the media about cybersecurity software which you can download at low cost to protect your network. So yeah, so July and August will be a really interesting time for us. From there, the aim really is to start to continue to build out our software, but the agent will really give us the revenue to continue to not only grow the business, but also start to be in position where we get the necessary exposure that we need. And then definitely when we start to hit in new platforms and new exchanges as well from after that, as a token starts to gain intrinsic value, as people start to realize that it's got value behind it, as it's being actively traded around.
Nice. Well, you got the IEO coming up, so if anyone listening, look into that, and the agent coming soon, and all. This is a really interesting topic for me because it's easy to forget about how wild it is out there on the internet and how easy it is to get hacked. I've actually been hacked, and I still,
Wow.
forget. I mean, I'm pretty careful, but after you get hacked once, but especially in the cryptocurrency space, with people's wealth on the line, in a lot of cases, this is something for everyone to pay attention to. So this is a killer project, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so funny you talk about that. You look at the amount of hacks that have been happening with, even the largest exchanges. And unfortunately, it's in our human nature that we want to keep things simple. We don't want to have overly complicated passwords. The most common passwords you'll find are mums, dads, cats, dogs, football teams, and girlfriends. So we've got to be really careful where we are. And what we just say is that make sure simple tips like using two-factor authentication. So a password and something that randomly changes, like the codes you can get on your phone for your banking system. Make sure you enable it in all of the exchanges that you're using when your crypto wallet. Get a hardware wallet if you can, and just don't trust anyone. Unfortunately, that's one of the best piece of advice. But human nature, we are the biggest weakness But definitely with Uncloak, we definitely want to mitigate and reduce that.
Yeah, and not only ourselves, the ability for us to get tricked, but like other people within our network. My hack was a SIM hack through Verizon, and they called up
Yeah.
Verizon and they just talked their way through the representative and turned my phone off and then turned their phone on and then kind of backdoored through as much as they could there. So
Wow, that's really popular. Funny you say that. I mean, so one of our advisors from his name's Andre McGregor. Andre McGregor was responsible for setting up the New York's cyber task force. He's also technical advisor for Mr. Robot. I'm not sure if you know about Mr.
oh
Robot.
yeah, that's a fun show. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, with Rami Malek. So yeah, he knows a lot of the guys at Verizon and AT&T, and SIM hacks are so common. It's just ridiculous. It's just it's terrible. I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. And that's the thing.
Yeah. So what do you think? I got, this is one of the gifts at the EOS thing. We got UB keys from EOS.io, Ubico. Have you used? How important is a UB key? And do you know about these things?
No, I mean that's the first time I've heard of it. I mean,
really?
I'm familiar with like near field communication and stuff like that. So funny enough, we've been doing a number of we've been doing some penetration tests on a number of wallets, hardware wallets and software wallets on behalf of a number of exchanges and companies. One of them is Selfkey. I'm not sure if Selfkey was one of the world's fastest ICOs. They sold that in 7 minutes, $21 million in 7 minutes. And Edmund Lau is one of our advisors, funny enough. But no, I mean, I haven't heard. I mean, funny enough, I haven't heard about YubiKey. I'm always a bit skeptical about NFC or near field communication or EDR. Anything Bluetooth or NFC enabled, anything that's got a radio in it, because I just think that one day someone's going to create a device that will be able to trap the radio frequency, pull the code down, and before you know it, they can just get access to your information. And so that's on the horizon. But I'll probably check out the YubiKey and see if it's any good, especially if they're giving away for free.
Yeah. It seems like NFC seems like ripe for. Would that be called a man-in-the-middle attack type of thing, where someone
Absolutely,
intercepts?
MITM. So so it's in the air, so you can what you're trying to do is capture the authentication that's happening between it. So I'm sure they've got a strong amount of encryption in there and what have you. But the same way is that the fact of the matter is, if someone can sniff it out of the air, then that's always a concern to me. I like things that are probably hardware based, that have a direct connection to machine. Anything across the air always frightens the life out of me. But NFC is pretty secure because when it uses things like RFID, the ability that it only works once it's next to a device it's able to get its power from. It's not bad. It's not bad, not great, but not bad.
Well, I probably should have researched this before I brought it up, because there's some everyone in the EOS community probably knows what the YubiKey is, except for me, because I haven't it's at the top of my list. That's my next research thing. So we'll see. But this Block One handed these out at the event. So
I know it was. I know it supports FIDO2, which is pretty cool. So I know it's pretty. I mean, it's a powerful piece of kit, but I've got to admit, I've never invested in one myself. I'm a bit of more of a different type of leisure type of guy, but it seems definitely pretty interesting from what these guys are up to. So yeah.
So as we start to wind down the show here, at the end we'll get some websites and where people can find you. But what do you think the most interesting thing that's going on in EOS right now is, just in general?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've got to listen to the announcement the other day. Obviously I was trying to see exactly what they were going to be bringing out in June. That was interesting. When looking at the voice network, I was like, okay, I know you got Steemit and then the voice network. It was just, it was interesting. It was interesting. I like the fact that, the code base apparently is 4 times quicker, which I'd love to see, and probably talk to the guys at EOS 42 and see exactly how compelling that is, and if it stands up to what it's meant to stand up to. But I think with what's been exciting really in the day, I think that we're getting to a place where the block producers definitely getting a lot more recognized than before, which I'm really excited about, because I think that I'd love Block One to really recognize how much effort, the block producers are putting in, and really support the block producers a lot more. We've got people from EOS Nation, some great guys from EOS Nation that I'm really, get on well with, Martin and Yves. These guys are just amazing guys, and when you see how hard these block producers are working to try and make sure that EOS is the #1 platform, it's really exciting. And what has interested me in the whole EOS community is that the strength of the token seems to be doing really, really well. In terms of it's nicely rising and growing to where the price needs to be, which is really interesting. I think people are starting to realize the number of transactions that have been done on EOS is phenomenal compared to, every other platform that has said, oh, they're going to do X tens of thousands of transactions. So seeing EOS, still the #1 when it comes to number of real life transactions that are being used I think it's a testament to where we are. But certainly I would love to see Block One really starting to invest in a lot more projects than they currently are at the moment. I think there's a lot of little guys that are out there that are doing some great stuff, but they need a lot more support, and it'd be great to see Block One just really pushing it out there and giving support where it's needed. So yeah, absolutely interesting times.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems like we are nearing a tipping point where a lot of these projects will be coming to fruition. Projects like Uncloak, where people have been building now for a year. And the projects that have survived, like Uncloak, are now launching betas and launching usable products, and the actual use cases for the blockchain. I'm hoping that's the next half of this year. Kind of these things start to hit the market, and so it becomes right now that the thought or the argument is that well, the EOS transactions are a lot of spam transactions or gambling. And
yeah,
while that doesn't take away the fact that the transactions are going through, the argument is that there's not really any use cases. So with Voice coming out, with Uncloak, with other projects that are launching, the other 100 YouTube EOS podcasts that we've done here, there's things that are coming to fruition. So it'll be that's what I'm most excited about, I think.
Yeah, I think one thing that I've always, for me, is all about customer adoption, and something that's always been quite strong to me. I get really, Nathan's a good mate of mine, NS James, from I think everyone knows who NS James is, and we have chats about adoption, about customer adoption, and if we can make the ability to onboard people from the fiat world really easy into blockchain, that's what's going to make a difference. And I think we just need to continue to find the applications that will allow us to onboard customers so quickly that they're not even using the blockchain. Once we get to a place where people do not even know they're using a blockchain, that's when we're winning. And that's what I want to do with Uncloak, is make sure that people don't even know they're using blockchain. We all mention it in our marketing. If you want to get techie, yes, we'll mention the blockchain, but otherwise it's like, no, this is a solution that you can use like any other cloud solution that's out there. So no, it's an interesting times, and but I do believe definitely EOS are at the forefront of. They've got a very, very stable community, and that's what's amazing about EOS. Every time I go to an unconference or a meeting or meetup, everyone is so passionate about what's going on. If it's a UK or Hong Kong or wherever I've been, Shanghai, people are so motivated by EOS, and I think that's what's really amazing. I think that's what's going to give it the longevity that it needs to be able to survive, for decades at the end of the day. So yeah, absolutely, we'll be definitely always continue to be a top 5 blockchain, no doubt.
Well, I think that we're doing big things. This is exciting. So go ahead and tell people where they can find you on the socials, where they can participate in the IEO, the initial exchange offering, if they're interested, and where to go from here.
Brilliant. So our website is Uncloak. That's UNCLOAK.io, uncloak.io, HTTPS, of course. We are on Telegram as well, so you can check us out on Telegram. Just Uncloak.io is our handle. Twitter is Uncloak.io, or you can find us. And our IEO, which is finishing on the 18th. So, please come and join us and help us out and be one of our uncloakers in the community. That's on P2P b2b.io. That's Papa Tango, Papa Bravo Tango Bravo.io. And check us out. Thanks so much.
Yeah, cool. We'll put that in the show notes. And Uncloak taking on cyber hackers with its blockchain and AI-powered solution. On my end, my friends, like I said, I vote for EOS 42. I vote for EOS Nation. I vote for what I consider some of the best block producers, Mr. Happy Money Proxy, if you're interested. And this is the EOS podcast, the first podcast in EOS history, past 100 episodes deep, well past a year deep into these interviews. And this is where you can get to know some of the projects that are going on, some of the block producers, and also teamed up with with EOS Rider, eosrider.com lately. They have become quickly one of the top media sources in the EOS sphere. So if you are looking for up-to-date information, they're usually some of the quickest. They usually break some of the best news, some of the most trusted and accurate information. So eosrider.com and maybe .io. Oh shoot, I don't know. Who knows? We should just end the show now. Okay. Cheers, my EOS podcast friends.
The money is not the prime asset in life. Time is.